we're now going to hear from someone who's more closely involved with the villagers, one of the mothers of a villager. Jackie Rees-Johansson has kindly agreed to say a few words about how things are impacting upon her and her loved one.
Good evening. Thank you very much. I don't think I'll be so eloquent as my friends here, but I'll try and say a few words. So I'm a mother. Our daughter, my husband and I have a daughter at Botton Village who's been here since 2010. It was a long journey to find the right work placement and the right living placement. It took us 2 years while she was at college, and after seeing many places, some that our daughter loved but they wouldn't accept her, some that they would have had her but she didn't like, and so on and so on. Anyhow, we ended up at Botton, had a week's trial. She loved it. I said to myself, don't send her to the weavery, she'll be bored stiff and she'll never want to go. And the first half hour we were there, they said, and we've set Lucy up for afternoons in the weavery. I thought, oh no. And Lucy loved it, and she still loves it, and she's a very, very good weaver, I think. And I think it's her Norwegian genes, because it's nothing to do with me. So she arrived at Botton. She was blissfully happy the first 18 months, 2 years. And there was then the evoked review of the social services, which was obviously very upsetting. And since then, things really haven't been the same. I think that one of the most special things about Botton is shared living in a family setting, having the privilege to share your lives with other people that you learn to respect, that you have to look out for, that you can help, that you can comfort. You can get annoyed with them too, and very often one does, and have tiffs and arguments, but that's life. And but knowing that you're appreciated and you're cared in a safe, normal family environment. Not everybody today, sadly, has that privilege for various reasons, but I deeply and truly feel that the majority of us, given the choice, would wish for a safe and happy family environment. And that's what Lucy found with people of different ages, which also is very enriching. That's life. When you live in a supported community, you live a little bit in a bubble. It's difficult to be sort of truly integrated in a normal population like you would in a village or on the local street. And she has the young co-workers that come with bringing the world to their feet at Botton for people that can't just book a flight on EasyJet and go anywhere in the world that they want to. So the world is brought to them, which is wonderful. And the long-term co-workers, which bring such an amazing sense of stability and continuity without anyone really knowing about it. Our daughter, for example, she can walk to work, she can walk to see her friends, to the coffee shop, to the store. But always there is actually somebody who knows, sort of has a vibe about where she might be. So she's not completely out there on her own in the big wide world, which is quite comforting for somebody who's quite, is very vulnerable. And yet, one has a sense of wonderful independence, because one thing our daughter said before finding somewhere to live was that, Mum, I don't need carers. I can go to the shop at the corner of the street and I don't need a carer to do it. So, one had to get this balance, and Botton was the perfect balance, Botton Village. One of the wonderful things for me was that I could actually, my husband and I did step back for the first time in about 24 years, which Lucy was desperately keen that we should do. She wanted to be like all other young people, to lead her own life, to be independent of her parents. And we were, because there was such a lot of continuity, there was such a strong team in the village, without one really seeing it. Everyone knew where our daughter was working, where she was going to eat, who her friends were, who was coming to visit. Things just happened. But then, there were sort of care managers and employees and different groups that came in for consulting or I don't know what. And we suddenly found that our daughter was involved with probably 7 or 8 different people, none of them who seemed to work together and seemed to be giving different messages. And guess who was troubleshooting? You know, parents were involved again. Same applied with finance, actually. That's probably, you know, the social service rules, but personalisation. But suddenly we've actually gone back 12 years when it comes to independence with finance. Whereas before, there was a wonderful system at Botton where the villagers, I think, felt very sort of independent about their own finances without the burden of actually doing a large financial transactions and getting scary letters saying, you know, if you can't pay the bill, don't worry, we'll put you in touch with the debtor's office or something like that, which is quite scary sometimes. So we are very worried about the fact that shared living will go. I think one thing that CBT hasn't understood is that being a voluntary co-worker, indeed any volunteer work, it comes from the heart. You can't impose it. So I see here briefly, it says that the co-workers will be paid and they're perfectly welcome to do voluntary work in the weekends and the evenings. You know, voluntary work doesn't happen like that. It doesn't come in a contract. It comes from the heart, and that will go. I think you know, as the balance or the imbalance of co-workers versus paid employees changes, you know, one will lose the will to work around the clock, which is what the co-workers do. Just like really like you know, somebody who runs a household, you work around the clock, you're on duty all the time, and that will go, and there will be sort of the lack of continuity from, you know, changeover from the one day person to the evening person. I mean, like Catherine, I know there are some wonderful paid employees already at Botton and in the care sector. And I know several already in the village who just do an amazing job, but they've also got something else in here too. And I remember once I read statistics when I was working in the business of care myself with the elderly and vulnerable, and they said then in the business there's a third are there because they really want to do it and they do it well, a third are there because they're just making a living, and a third should never be there at all. And I'm sure that still applies today. You know, one runs the risk of getting people who are there just because it's a job, and the trouble is that they probably will move on. We've already seen it within the last 18 months. You know, people have come and gone, and then you start again, and you have to get to know the new person. So it'd be very sad to see this lack of continuity. People who've been there for years and years and years, who know the village, who know the way things run, who know their business as well. Even though not that paid, they're very experienced, and can provide this sort of independence with security. Okay, thank you.